right, this is where we'd ask the studio audience to clap like crazy because try to make noise, like there's somebody here. I think for the most part we're mostly well, we're talking throughout the house. We've got monitors up all around, and then obviously we're talking to our live stream audience, and definitely appreciate everybody kind of tuning in and coming out. We've got, I think, about 270 folks right now kind of registered for the event, and so we're super excited to be back for Gear Show 2023. We did our first Gear Show in 2017, which was, kind of, we had a lot of kind of our local friends out. The following year, we decided we were going to kind of expand it out to kind of a larger audience, and it was nice enough that we were able to get some folks from the larger community. A couple of those folks are still here. We've got Blue Shake. Was one of our sponsors since the beginning. Our friends at Midwest Photo were a sponsor since the beginning. Our friends at Airy, back behind you guys, are a sponsor since the beginning. And then Central Ohio AV were also a sponsor since the beginning. And we're definitely grateful to all of those folks and then all of the sponsors that we've been able to add throughout the year. So we definitely want to thank our sponsors, our long-term sponsors, and then also want to thank our sponsors specifically this year. We've got Airy that's sponsoring the main stage. Midwest Photo or MPX is doing all the food and beverages, so gotta give a little love for that. Sigma is doing our live stream. So love that, appreciate that. And then Live Technologies is our kind of screen sponsor, our LED sponsor, our live sponsor, and those kind of things. Then we've also got other sponsors that are definitely helping us kind of put together things like buses and all of the other things that go to make this kind of a successful event. So we want to thank, again, Blue Shape, Central Ohio Audiovisual, Film Columbus, Block Battery, Fujinon, KinoFlow, Chevet, Imagine Products, Zeiss, Aperture, Vididium, which I've got to go figure out how to say that. I meant to do that before I got up here. Vididium. Cinema Columbus, and then TA Swain Insurance. Love all of those folks, and we'll make sure to get like extra mentions for anybody we've mispronounced and destroyed in this very kind of tragic moment of misunderstanding. We'd love it if you could hashtag us at Gear Show 23. That would be lovely, or OHD Studios. Lovely. So also want to thank the OHD staff. These guys have been killing it for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, but really the last 2 weeks, they have been kind of transforming this building. It's amazing. I don't think we've washed the windows since the last one in 2020. So there's been a lot of transformation going on in this building, and we definitely appreciate that. Also want to thank all the folks that have come out to be panelists. So many of you will be participating in panels throughout the day and helping educate the wider community, and some of you will be miseducating them, but it'll be fine. We'll find some understanding through all of this and make it happen. But definitely appreciate all of the introverted extroverts that are going to come out, sit on these panels, and put themselves in a position which is maybe not the most comfortable, but really beneficial to kind of the larger community. The other group I want to thank is our summer interns. So we have a great summer internship program here, and so we have both past interns that have come back, decided to volunteer for this, and then we have some of our future interns that are going to be in the program this summer, and we're super excited to have those folks out and bring them into kind of our larger production community, so they can start to network and get to know kind of whatever things going on, and really start to embrace what a great community this is in terms of the support that's available here. And this really is a community, I think, that works to build each other up, works to collaborate, and works to really kind of help do some cross-functional, kind of educational kind of things and kind of bring folks along. So we really are proud of the internship program. And this is, I don't know, probably like our 4th or 5th year of doing the internship program, but it's been a really great success for us. And we've got interns this year that are We've got OU, Bowling Green, CCAD, Otterbein, Capital University, and University of Cincinnati kind of across. So we take on about 10 different interns during the summer. It's really more of a workshop program. We definitely want to get the word out there. We are trying to make this competitive. We want to get the best of the best. And we want to bring those folks in here to really sharpen each other. And so we're super proud of this program. We've got some great kids. These kids go on to be, superstars in our industry. They go on to be our clients. They go on to be, some of them have gone on to be our staff. And it's a really, really kind of cool thing that we're very, very, very proud of. So what has happened since the last time we all got together at one of these things? So if anybody was here for the last one of these we had, you'll know we had it on March 12th, 2020, which was the last day that the world was sane. So, and there's been so many things that have happened to us all, both personally and professionally, since that happened. So literally, if we would have had that event on the Friday as opposed to the Thursday, we would have ended up canceling it because of state and national mandates to shut everything down. As we were setting up the day before that show, the word came across that NAB was canceled. The Arnold Festival, which was happening in town, was shut down. Literally, the world was just closing down, and we were trying to figure out how to do it safely, how to do it at all, and setting up hand sanitizer everywhere. Trying to. We were COVID protocol before COVID protocol was cool, and we did it. And we got through it. But literally that next day, the waves just hit us, and everybody was trying to figure out how we deal with it, how we come back from it, how we kind of work with it. And so obviously since that time we've seen all kinds of travel bans, supply chain issues, remote production, remote working in general, remote dining. Everybody's doing the DoorDash stuff. We've seen a streaming revolution where all of our live content went to a streaming kind of thing. We've seen remote directors. Virtual production kind of grew up in the middle of that with The Mandalorian came on, we've seen, again, the world of content go completely, from a cable situation to online streaming in that space. And then, in the last few months, we've obviously seen inflation, bank collapses, and a few other things. And I think most of us in this space right now have seen the last 3 months as a point in our businesses where we would all like to see the doors swing a little more widely for all of us. And so, I'm watching the things on Facebook, things in the world, marketplaces and things like that. There's a lot of used gear for sale. I was talking to the guys at Midwest Photo. They deal in that used market quite a bit. Everybody's trying to reposition and figure out how we're going to go into this year and kind of move forward with the business that we do. There are also kind of external threats like, the world of AI is kind of coming at us fast. Like there's been a lot of conversations, and we're going to talk about that stuff on the panels today. Like what does that look like in terms of writing, in terms of kind of image creation, all of those things. How is that going to affect us? And we're, again, as a community, going to work with some of that and try to figure out how we kind of move forward in some of those things. So we'll be talking about that in some of the panel stuff. In terms of the last year for us at OHD, it has obviously, or maybe not so obviously, been a real year of transformation for us. So we have launched greatly into virtual production. So we now have a virtual production studio here with an LED volume, and we are working very hard to continue to R&D that. We've gotten some great projects kind of out recently that we're very proud of, and we're happy to show those that really show that technology and a great integration, and I think really has some benefits as we move forward in terms of efficiencies and ways that we can kind of move this business forward. And obviously, I think long term it's going to be the way. I think there's been some back and forth in terms of how that whole process works and how people understand that. But through education, I think we're going to find that that's going to open up some avenues for us. The other thing that we did in the last year is we opened up a satellite office in Louisville, Kentucky. Or I don't know, we're not calling. Yeah, that's exciting. It's super exciting for me. Like in our team here. Like it was. We've been fortunate here in Columbus. We identified as a brand that we really like bringing our technologies and what we offer into what we call livable cities, And I think a lot of us work and live and kind of want to be in a city like Columbus. I think Louisville's a very similar city where we can operate and we can do our craft and we can be creative and we can do cool, exciting, meaningful work in a place where we don't have to give up lifestyle and, or convert to a very specific lifestyle. And I think, we like living in the Midwest. We like being in flyover country. I do, it's okay. You can be proud of that. So, we want to bring these tools and these technologies to markets and communities that share values, that share this lifestyle, and we want to prove to the greater world that we can create really cool stuff. There are really talented folks, and we can make this work happen anywhere. It doesn't have to happen on the coast. It doesn't have to happen in a designed area. As long as we've got talented folks and we can bring some resources together and infrastructure. And there's again, I'm looking at Molly, I'm looking at John. I'm like, there are folks that are working to in the state, out of the state, with government, with other resources to bring all of those things so we can all do the work that we want to do right here, and we can do it profitably, maintain a great lifestyle, and live the lives that we want. So super proud of that. So in the move to Louisville, obviously we dropped a few letters from our logo. We decided we went through a branding process. Chose a million names that didn't make any sense. Came up with all these other things that we were trying to justify, and somehow ended up being very close to home with what kind of resonated with us. And so we dropped the Ohio, and now we're just OHD. And you can make up any 3 names to go with that you like and submit them, and maybe we'll adopt those. But But we are now OHD Studios and very proud to be in that space and serve our clients as that. I'm going to talk personally. Oh, good Lord, I didn't think it would go that fast. So I am going to talk personally for a minute because obviously a lot of you have reached out. God damn. To Michelle and I. We've had a very hard year, and a lot of you may or may not know, Michelle has a cancer diagnosis. It's not been, it's not been great. So, wow, I really just thought I'd cruise through that. I really just thought, hey, I've told this story a million times, and I thought I'd cruise through it, but it's a little tough. So. No, I get that, and I get the love, and she gets the love, and we are so grateful for everybody that's been a part of that journey. And I know I got a letter this morning, or an email this morning from some folks supporting Gina Harehuth, who's a project coordinator up in Cleveland. Her son's going through a struggle right now. Bob Eagle, as many of you know, is going through a struggle. I know that there's a ton of other people going through stuff, so thanks. So, anyway, so let's get back to kind of the joy of what this event is, a kind of the celebration of what we do, and let's really have an awesome day and do some great learnings, have some great panels, and really use this as a tasting menu. Kind of go out there, get to know some of these vendors, get to know some of this equipment. The more you can learn, the more you can take in from an event like this, the more you can bring to your clients, the more you can elevate the art, and the more we can take this city forward and make people take us seriously, in the front of what we do. We want to enhance all the best practices. We want when people come in here from other states or other areas to say, man, these guys got it. They know what they're doing. Well, there is no reason we can't take a project to Columbus, Ohio and make that happen. Again, I know there's a lot of you out here right now that again, business has been a little slower, I think, for a lot of us over these last couple of months. I look at business generally in terms of two things. I look at it strategically and tactically, right? And so tactically is those, when the shoots are coming in and the projects are coming in and you can barely get through your day because you're just trying to get through, answer the phones, write the script, do the thing, blah, 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 and you're just on autopilot, and you're moving so fast that you really can't think about how you're running your business or how you're developing your processes and kind of moving that thing. And then you get to times like this, and that's where you get to dive back in and reassess where you were, what was going wrong while you were so crazy, how to do it better, how to make yourself better, and kind of build that thing up. So when the next, influx of things come at you, and it will come at you, you're going to be ready for it. You'll be better for it. Your clients will be better for it, and your business will be better for it. So we want to talk about gear today. We want to talk about networking. We want to talk about your businesses, and we want to make sure that you guys have the tools you need to kind of move your businesses forward. And we want to be here to support that and help you grow your businesses as needed. So again, appreciate everybody coming out. I am going to turn it over right now to my good friend John Doherty from Film Columbus, and he's going to continue the conversation about what's going on in that community to kind of keep, again, the work from outside of this market coming into this market and keeping it stronger and stronger. So I'll bring up John right now, and he is going to wow you. Yeah. Come on up.
I don't know about that. Thank you, Scott.
All right, thank you, buddy. Hey.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much. Get out my notes here. I'm not going to speak too long, but again, thanks to Scott, Dave, Anna, Max. I guess Max is not here today, unfortunately, and the rest of the OHD staff. And congrats on the Louisville location, you guys. That's great. My name is John Doherty. I'm the film commissioner here in Columbus in Central Ohio, and I'm just going to talk a little bit, bring you guys up to date on some really exciting stuff like legislation and Senate bills and House bills. Yeah. And just like Scott said, wow, you guys. There's some Film Columbus swag in the raffle bags around somewhere, so be sure and check that out. There's some I love film buttons and I vote, which is very important. So let's start first with legislation, Senate Bill 4. I know this is exciting, so just bear with me. But it's worth talking about because you all can help at some point. So last General Assembly, last year, we introduced House Bill 599 and Senate Bill 341. Those bills called to expand the tax credit, and specifically House Bill 599 was written to incentivize brick and mortar construction in the film industry. Neither of those bills passed last year because last year was a huge mess due to being an election year, amongst other things. So they were kind of combined this year, and Senate Bill 4 was introduced by Senator Schuring out of the Akron area. And the significance of Senate Bill number 4 is the lower the number, the higher priority it is. So this bill is a very high priority for the Senate. What this bill does is right now it calls for an uncapped tax credit, much like Georgia. The likelihood of that passing is very slim. It'll probably pass the Senate as written, but once it goes to the House, we're not anticipating it passing. What myself and the other film commissioners around the state and lobbyists and whatnot, what we're thinking it will do is it will probably expand to 40 or 100, maybe $200 million, which is a significant jump in what it is right now, which is $40 million. So what does that mean? That means that there will probably be an influx of projects coming here, films, commercial work, larger commercial work, things like that. So what's also in that bill, which I'm really excited about, which was what I was talking about in House Bill 599 from last year, was there's $100 million in this bill for capital improvements. That means anybody who wants to come in and build a studio, or if Scott wanted to expand something here, there are incentives to do that. One entity cannot take more than $5 million of that $100 million, which is great, which means not one company can come in and sweep it up and eat the whole thing up. So we're really excited about that. Again, what can you do to help out? Proponent letters, good old grassroots stuff where you write your legislators. If you're not on the Film Columbus mailing list, come see me sometime. When I'm done, I have a sign-up sheet, and what I will do when the time is right, I will send out an email and tell you where you can write your legislators, send you a sample letter. It's really easy. It probably won't take 5 minutes. And believe me, those things help, because their aides read all their emails, and they go back to their bosses and legislators, and they say, look, we're getting a lot of feedback that we want this to happen. There will also be live proponent testimony at some point. That's usually, they'll call me like 1 week and say, hey, there's proponent testimony, can you come and speak? So I'll send out when that's gonna happen, and if you show up at the State House, that's always a big help. We did that in 2019. For those of you who remember, I was working closely with Cleveland and Cincinnati, and we were confident that we were going to expand the tax credit in 2019. Out of the blue, then Speaker of the House eliminated the tax credit completely from his version of the budget. We all came together and showed up at the State House and spoke about how important this industry is. And the bill ended up getting squashed, and it stayed at $40 million, so we did save it, so all that does help. So again, see me sometime today if you're not on the mailing list, and I can put you on the list, and you'll get some emails from me about that. Let's see. Something else I wanted to talk about, and Scott touched on this a little bit, which I think is important. Those of you who know me, I've been preaching about this for the last year and a half, 2 years. And that's the redefining of what we call the film industry. So if we think about it, animation, game development, film, those lines are all blurring, and they will continue to blur. One of the things that I bring up is right now the game development or the game industry is 3 times larger than film and music combined. So we cannot ignore game development and things like the Unreal Engine, which power the LED walls over here. Film companies and film studios are now looking at games for IP. Last of Us is a great example of that. So what I've been preaching to legislators around the state is we have to take all of that into consideration, the technology and the game development, and create this as one big industry. And that starts to resonate with legislators. With those of us who are film commissioners and are over at the State House all the time, we're constantly trying to educate legislators that this is not a Hollywood business. This is about local jobs. A lot of you work on films and productions and commercials, so you get it. And that's what this is all about. This is not about lining the pockets of Hollywood producers. So that's what we try to keep telling the legislators. Let's see. Speaking of games and movies, there was an article that just came out this week in The Economist, and the title of it is Movie Making and Game Making Are Converging. So people are starting to talk about that. So when you're out speaking with friends and whatever, talk about it. Talk about how important this legislation is. Senate Bill 4 is here for all of us. It will bring more work here, so it's very, very important. Let's see. Some of the things that we're doing at Film Columbus for local filmmakers. A couple years ago, we started providing some grants for local filmmakers. We're going to continue that. That's going to expand. We're going to do our pitch contest again this year, which is great. That'll be in October. We're doing some great programs like the Teen Script Writing Contest for kids age 13 to 18. Those of you who either have kids who want to try out screenwriting or know nieces and nephews that are interested in this business, we hold 2 free workshops for teens age 13 to 18 who live in Franklin and the surrounding counties. And after those workshops, we encourage them to write a 3 to 5 page script, submit that script, and we judge those scripts, and then we pick 2 of them to be made into actual movies during the CCAD fall film class. So it's really exciting. The first workshop, there's one this weekend and next weekend. So if you know of anybody, again, come up, give me your email address, and I'll send you all the information. Our annual film summit will be happening Saturday, April 29th. Again, if you're not on the email list, let me know. You'll get a lot of information on that. That'll be from noon to 3 p.m. at Gateway Film Center. Keep your eyes on social media for more information on that. It's happening the same weekend as Cinema Columbus, which Molly will be talking about later today. That's an exciting new program. This is the second year. We tried to start it in 2020, but like Scott said, the world went to shit. So we started it last year. Molly's been running it, and it's really exciting. Coming up in June, we're going to do a PA workshop. If things go the way that I think they're going to go with the tax credit and it's expanded, we're going to need more PAs. So we're going to do a quick PA workshop in June. Let's see, late July, early August, I want to do a DP workshop. I met a woman named Carmen Cabana in Sundance, and she's worked on things like Narcos and Miss Marvel. She's great. She wants to come in. She gives workshops all around the country. I mentioned our pitch contest. That'll be in October. I think we're going to do a pitch workshop, how to put together a pitch, and these are all free workshops, which will be great. And again, pay attention to social media. I'll be here most of the day. If you're not on the email list, come see me. I'll put you on, and I appreciate all of you. There are no time for questions, correct? I think you were yeah. So I guess we're out of time. If you have any questions, just come up and talk to me. I'm happy to chat about it and give you any more information you need. But thank you very much. Thanks again to Scott and the whole OHD staff. Let's give them a round of applause. These guys have been working their asses off. So thank you, guys.
Hello and welcome to our very first panel. My name is David Jeffries. I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at OHD Studios. Welcome and thank you. Welcome back, 2023. We have some great content coming up, but first we're going to do Let's Do the Numbers, where we talk a little bit about budgets and how on the production side it can be helpful or hurtful and in ways that we spend money, in ways that we make money, in ways that we're profitable, specifically on kind of production side of it. And that's everything across from labor to gear, locations, all the things that we have to spend money on. So first, what I'd like to do is just kind of run down the line, have you guys introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about some of your background, what you're doing currently, and yeah, we'll start with Kelly.
Hi guys, I'm Kelly Sells. I am with Space Junk. I don't know, a lot of you might know I was there for 11 years, left for 6, and now I'm back. And I'm so happy to be back. So I have been a business development professional my entire career. I've also produced projects, so I've kind of got a good idea of bringing the client in, getting the budget, the scope of work, and getting the job done. So that's my experience.
Hi, I'm Desiree Livingston. I am one of the baby producer UPMs. I am an OSU alum. I recently just got off of Kaylin Allshouse's short film, The House My Mother Left. Check it out, hopefully soon. Yeah, indie world.
Hi, my name is Carrie O'Reilly. I'm an indie producer. I explain to people what I do is I'm the spend the money producer, not the find the money producer. I primarily work in features, but I will occasionally dabble in commercials.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I'm kind of wondering what I'm doing up here. I own a company called Sleepy Monkey Films. I do budget-friendly music videos and videos for businesses. When I'm not doing those, I've spent most of my time since 2018 as a camera operator for some Nat Geo shows and freelancing around town on commercial productions.
Hi, I'm Joe Buscemi, and I am the founder or whatever of Inline Productions for the last 25 years. Jesus. And I've struggled with budgeting, as we all have, and how to, be a good steward of money forever. So this is going to be as much learning as it is in contribution for me. I'm excited to hear what people say here.
For sure. Well, thank you all for being here. So one of the things that we wanted to do here was be able to obviously create a breadth and depth of what kind of different productions we might see. So everything from indie films to large corporate commercial stuff to independent producers or independent artists on the music video side kind of the world. And then obviously some of more of your corporate stuff. So this is super informal. Honestly, if as you guys are thinking about stuff, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. When we get a pause in it, I'll try and grab a question for you and repeat it back so everybody can hear. So first thing that I want to talk about is a pretty easy one, right? How can a good or a poor budget, and when I say that is, how can having very mandated budget numbers impact how production is going to work for you? Meaning, customer or movie producer comes, they have a set amount of money, and they say, we really want to spend it on X, Y, Z. Where are some of the pain points or some of the really benefits of that happen?
Okay, I'll go. Yeah. Okay, so theoretically, the most important thing that a budget should do is get everybody involved on the same page. The budget's going to define a lot of the parameters of what you can and can't do. A budget's going to, a lot of the times, give the reality check that certain people need, and it's like anything that you're creatively throwing at it, it is how you are allocating the limited resources that you have. So a good budget is going to be one that has taken into consideration the creative needs of the project and also what the various departments are going to need to do the job that they're expecting to do on it. A bad budget is one where you have somebody who is a little divorced from the process, the creative process, trying to dictate the limits of how things work. Mm-hmm. You get line producers or production managers or producers who are very, we can't do this, we don't have the budget, the line item is this. And the line item it's very, you have to hold to a budget, but you also have to be flexible in the budget. And experience tells you when you should hold the line and when you shouldn't. But it's never something that's, I may do the budget, I may keep the budget, but I'm never the only one making decisions on the budget. It has to be a collaborative process.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I guess maybe to piggyback on that, how how do you have some of those conversations with folks? Where do you start when you are up against something where you're watching the numbers, but at the same time, production or somebody else is like, we have to have X, Y, Z thing. How do you open those conversations to try and meet in the middle of creative and keeping track of that?
Go ahead.
I think if you're talking films, it's one thing. If you're talking working with an agency or a corporate budget, it's another. And I think from a budgeting standpoint, for me, the thing that I learned was it's not about the budget, it's about the ask. What are they asking you to do? And I think one thing that I learned very quickly is sharing inspiration. If I'm working on a project and there's no storyboard, not even a style frame, there's just a script, I want to make sure that I'm on board with the client with what they are seeing in their head. Yeah. So I'm always wanting to provide inspiration and work through different budget levels in that way. So that those line items are allocated in the right area for the execution of the project. And of course, always there's going to be bumps in the road most of the time, which is why your scope of work and that budget are so important, that you have that all out for the client and they've signed off on that. So.
Yeah, I agree. The showing them something. Is this what you're looking for? Because we all know they have something totally wild in their head, and they're like, well, we have $1,000 to spend. I'm like, well, that's not possible. But so you show them what, and then I tend to go things like, well, this video was done for this much. Right. This video was done for this much. And it starts to go, oh, you can see the light go off in their head. Oh, I'm in over my head. Or, oh, okay, great, I like that one, and that budget looks good or something. So I try to give them some framework to go on because, we know there's people come from varying degrees of knowledge of this. Oh my God, I have a huge budget. It's $3,000, Or some people do get a huge budget, so.
Yeah, and that might be a big budget for them.
Right.
You don't know what their marketing budget is. You don't know what they've been told they can spend. Mm-hmm. But sharing the inspiration and getting to the point of the scope of work and the numbers, that's not a negative thing. So I want to say to anybody who's a producer putting numbers together, a biz dev person, that's not a negative thing. It's a very positive thing to take them through literally what it is they're asking for, so that there's no surprises, no unexpected, hiccups.
Let's talk about surprises for a second, right? Production never goes as anybody plans, right? So, and that's true across the entire board. From the moment that we start a project to the moment that we deliver, wherever that may be, there is always a gotcha that happens. So when those do come down the line and we're up against it, how do we balance finding that money? Where do we find that pull sum? Where are some of the first places that you try to go looking for money inside your own budgets?
I mean, on features, you have a contingency, and even on most commercial projects I've done, there's some sense of contingency. So there is something set aside for that, and there are varying degrees of things to incite panic. Sometimes there are things you just have to explain to your client or producers. These are the inherent risks of what you're trying to do. This is your cost of doing business. You have to understand that, I can't cover for everything, but my job is to let you know what the risks are. And then sometimes it's having an experienced team around you that's going to help you problem solve those things. Like we had on this last job I did, we had one day where we lost the first 3 hours of the day to lightning. And there was nothing we can. It was, of all the days of the shoot, it was the fortunate day where we had good places to be. It was a lighter day. We could make it up. But we used those 3 hours to plan ahead for the next thing, to get ahead for other things, and to sort of have contingency plans for what happens if we can't shoot till lunch. But that's where you have to have a good team to help you do it. It's not always about finding money. It's about how can you up your efficiency so that you can get through it on the money you have.
I think efficiency is a great word because that often comes, one of the things that we do here at OHD is try to find tools that help match for efficiency purposes. And a lot of times, obviously, we carry all the fun, best toys, but we also carry all the stuff that is just your workhorse stuff. And we're always trying to identify right tool for the job. So I think that in a lot of ways, efficiency comes across the board, and we all have to be stewards of the money, right? Whether that's the rental house that's trying to offer you new gear, that's whether you're the DP trying to choose a camera package, all of the things across the board kind of come to being good stewards of the money. So I just want to kick it over, Sean. I'm going to pick on you for a second. So you don't usually you have to do it all, right? You're the one-man band across the show. How do you get a client in front of you and figure out where those dollars are going to go so that both something goes in your pocket and you get a good quality piece for your end user?
So generally, integrity is a real big thing for me, and transparency. Being a small business and working with small businesses and local artists, I try to spell everything out for them and break everything down if they ask me to show them where every single cent is going. And if something comes up on set that's something that I didn't account for, then I eat that cost and I take it out of the money that I'm making on the project. But if it's something that they failed to mention to me, then I sit down with them and I have that conversation, and I'll bring up OHD's website and be like, this is how much it's going to cost to rent it, and this is how much it's going to be for a person to operate it, et cetera. So I just have genuine conversations with people is how it's worked out for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I would say that everybody up here would probably think that integrity is a good way to be in charge of managing someone else's dollars. I think that's critical to that. So just before I kind of pivot, anybody have any questions at this point? All right, fantastic. One of those things, and I think this is kind of interesting that we kind of pivot off of what you're saying there, is setting a box, right? And with that, a lot of times what we're looking at is both setting a box and a boundary for the people delivering the dollars, but also the box and the boundary for the people doing the work. How do you manage that give and take? What ways are challenges on that? Anybody?
I guess in context of sort of supporting your crew and your director and your client, and also holding the line on things. I think it generally comes back to, communication and support. You want people to feel that they can come to you with what their concerns are. You want and not just hear like, sometimes you do have to try it out. I'd love to do that too, but this is just not the reality of what we're in. Or presenting a trade-off for things. I think it's easier to go into a larger production where you might have, 150 different crew people and a lot of cast with agents and a lot of needs going into it with the strong plan, with the strong budget, with the strong schedule, because most people are looking for being heard and leadership, and they will be more likely to trust you in the decisions you've made on a budgetary level, that you need or don't need something if they feel you understand why you're saying no to something or yes to something, and that you actually are in control of things. And it's not just an arbitrary decision you're making because you're mean. I save the "you're mean" conversations for my 11-year-old. It's like, but I have them with crew all the time, and I have them with clients on commercials sometimes where it's just like, we discuss this and it's a no. A lot of the times that's a safety issue more than a budgetary issue, but if you are the person that is in charge of being fiscally responsible for the production, that comes with other responsibilities too. And I think that's how you get people to follow your budget and follow your guidance on the budget, is that they trust that you're looking out for their interests as well.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think the safety thing is also one of the things that, a lot of times, especially in a producing role, or even when we're sitting here putting together quotes and stuff for rental clients, we're also looking at that going, car rigs are a great example of this. Do you have a crew that knows what they're doing? Do you have people that are trained in this? Do you have the insurance that's going to be there to cover this for if something unfortunately does go wrong? And I think that that's a huge piece. And again, I think that's also a shared role of all of us across the board, right? Are the decisions that we're making putting safety in mind for the people that are doing it?
Do you need a spotter, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you do. And of course that comes across as a line item. They're like, God, if we could cut that.
Right. We don't need that safety guy.
We don't need that safety thing. And it's one of those things you got to hold the line, and it's hard because you want to maximize the dollar creatively.
Yeah.
right? And there's this give and a take, and it's about people, and I want to pay the people what they deserve, because I think that's where the real quality of a product comes around, is your people. But then there's the equipment. So do I go lower camera and get, it's always that give and a take, and you get like, that's their budget, and I want to work with their budget, but I also want to make money.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing, and this never happens. But have you ever run into a situation where you have more money than you think you should?
No.
Okay, I think that's interesting, though. Carrie's saying yes.
Yes, but you don't find that out until the project is over. And there are many times where I have this is more on commercials, but it happens on features too, where I've come in better than I thought because we didn't have the overtime or we didn't do it. And, my general response is that's the time you pay back people who did you some favors. And sometimes it's like, I know we discussed a 40% discount, but it could be maybe 30 on this one. But those things come up after the needs of the production are met. That's how you do it. Or I've paid extra kit rental sometimes at the end of the show for people who took a lower kit at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing. I mean, it's important to come in on budget. It's important to be responsible for it, but you also have to play the long game.
Yeah, for sure. So Desiree, I'm going to pick on you for a minute. So obviously you've been on a few shows where you've used us as part of that kind of conversation. How do you deal with when you have other people trying to push for the best deals across it? What are some ways that you have worked with relationships with different vendors to try and create good, strong communication and good, strong relationships, so that project after project, when you call, people are happy to pick up the phone?
I think that transparency about our projects are really important and what we need, as well as I have my frequent collaborators that I use, like Sydney Lawson, my go-to, and I think that those things together usually help round out the relationship, because we're constantly in communication. We're constantly emailing with you guys. You guys are constantly teaching us new things we wouldn't have known otherwise. And I think that as time goes on, that relationship just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And we can rely on each other more.
Yeah, I love that. And, to take that one step further past the OHD Desiree relationship or the OHD Sydney relationship, I think that, again, the events like this are so important because OHD is a vessel for all of you guys to be here, but it's also an opportunity for you guys to meet new people, an opportunity to grow your own networks, have new conversations, and learn new things. The only reason that we're able to teach it at all anyway is because people are pushing us to bring in new things. Our vendors around the building are bringing in new technologies. Our customers are coming in with new problems. And for us, that's always the way that we're trying to push the boundaries, is so that we can then return that favor so that you guys can one step go forward and teach that to your customers or bring new creative value to that. So I think that's super awesome.
I think it's very important because you guys are kind of serving as a community hub for the filmmaking Columbus community. I feel like that's something that's been lacking a little bit.
We try.
And I think it's important for all of us to come together, get to know each other, and build our community even stronger so that we become a place on the map for people to think of filmmaking.
Yeah, and I think it's happening, honestly. As I've talked to, because we're even seeing more. Traditionally, we have not done a lot in the film world. We've done mostly commercial corporate, but we are starting to see an uptick in requests from films coming in, and not coming in with saying, we've got $100 and we'd like all of your gear for 3 months. We're getting real requests. So I think that that's super, super important in the idea that community is growing here. I think it is continuing to blossom. And hopefully with some of the remarks that John made with some of the tax incentives, we may see some more of that. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about how we, and this may be more towards some of the commercial side, but that cost versus price thing. Right, so when you have a pile of money that's happening there, and a lot of times I'll say, do you need the piece of equipment that's going to cost you more so that you save more money on the end? How do you explain that to a customer? How do you make those decisions?
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to mention when we were talking earlier. I think when you're in the pre-production phase and you're planning a budget, and you know the scope of the budget and the money that they have and how you're going to be able to execute that, like we talked about inspiration. On the same side, it's really important to have a great production partner, because I remember when the Red camera came out, right? And it was like everybody wanted to use the Red, and it was expensive and it was clunky and it wasn't always necessary. And technology has gotten so much better and easier now, but you don't really, in a lot of cases, you don't have to really specifically discuss the type of camera that you're going to use with the client, because 9 times out of 10, they don't know. They just want it to look as best as it can for the budget. And so I think having that variety and that discussion with your production partner is really important. Look, I have this much money. This is what's going to go for post-production. This is what I have left over for production and pre-production. What's the best way to amortize this money across the board for this creative?
And that's true. We're the pros, so we should be advising
Exactly,
that,
we're
right?
the experts. Yeah. And that's what I say to clients, you know, whether it's animation or live action or whatever, you know, trust us, we're the experts. We're going to execute this the way that you want, just maybe not exactly the way you thought it was gonna happen, you know, for your budget. So the other thing that I wanted to say too is when you're in the pre-production phase and we talk about, you know, during production running out of money or a line item going over or whatever, when you're in the pre-production phase and you're doing that maybe without a script, without a storyboard, without a style frame, you're like flying blind and you know, these guys want numbers, but they haven't given you a lot of information. Once that script does come in, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, this is not what we scoped for, and here's some solutions. Instead of a 3-day shoot, we're gonna do a 2-day shoot.
You know? Everybody cringes.
Yeah.
Squeeze all that into one day.
Exactly. And, you know, but it's okay to do that because the bottom line is that's what's best for the client. You're not gonna harm the project. You're not gonna harm the creative. You and your production partners are gonna work that out. It's okay to be honest and open with your client about what's best for the project. It's a scary thing to do, but do it because it's, as long as it's educated and genuine, it'll be okay.
Yeah, go.
From a music video standpoint, Red is still king. People, I feel like it's an easy name. People know it. So they're like, oh, are you shooting on a Red? And I'm like, well, I can shoot some. They'll give me samples of videos that were shot on Reds or whatever. And I'll say, you know, I could shoot something on my phone that looks better than that. Are you sure you want to use that camera? Yep. So again, talking people out of things sometimes helps bring the scope into reality for them.
And at the same time, I think one of the things I learned with experience is that you have to understand the motive for the ask a lot of the times. And know when you're just not going to win on something because of something that is entirely dumb, but they're doing it for, like, in this very studio, we had flown in a DP from Europe who had just shot Game of Thrones to shoot a commercial for Dirt. Like dirt, literally. And
it was so nice and new.
And it was.
We had just painted.
You had just done it, but it was one of those things. They wanted to be able to say, "We've got the best DP," and it's like, all right, I get it. I get that that's the win. I did a commercial for Indiana Lottery not that long ago where the DP had to shoot with the absolute new, I forget even the camera was, but like some ridiculously new camera for a web-only Indiana Lottery Christmas commercial scratch-off thing. And it's like, well, this is really, why would we even need, like, we're shooting this in 6K, this is stupid. And it's like, well, because, you know, the director wants to use this DP, and that's why the DP is willing to come and do this. And then you go, okay, I get it, I win, but that's got to be it.
Because the DP wants that for his reel a lot of times.
Because he wants to play with the camera, exactly. And but it's like, you just know, it's like, okay, I'm not going to win that, but let's all define that this is it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the break, because this is not just going to be the camera. It's the AC that has to come to operate the camera. This takes so much more hard drive space than we talked about.
Yep.
This means I'm not going to be able to just upload your data. You know, it's all these other things, but that's got to be it. So on that same commercial, it was like, I'm not bringing a crane. I'm sorry. Like, we're not bringing a crane for you can't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
So.
You know, and I think that's a great lesson in general for those of you not on the number side, more on the art side or the DPs in the room. Like, you know, the people that are running the numbers aren't just doing it to be mean. They're certainly doing it to be stewards of being able to give you the best thing that you need for that.
Right.
And likewise, you know, as similar to how most of you, I think if all of you actually at this point, have had a conversation probably with me or someone from our staff where it's like, hey, here's the number, right? This is what we've got. This is the ask. Can you? That is a conversation I know that we, or pretty much any other rental house on the face of the earth, want to have. We want to be part of your process. We want to be part of what's going on with that so that we can give you, in the same way that these guys up here are trying to give good quality content to their customers, to the films that they're making, to the DPs that are shooting it, all the way down and up the line. We want to be part of that chain as well. And I think that would probably be true across the board.
That's a good point, actually, because as we talked, we are the conduit to our client and telling them what they kind of need or want. And again, you're balancing their budget, making money, and having something that you're proud of, right, to put out there with your name on it. But I think that conversation also then goes to you. So I've come to you and said, here's what they're trying to do, David. Here's a sample they gave me. What camera
and
would
we
you
love
use?
that.
Yeah, and I say,
Absolutely
here's the
love
number. What's my best camera for the dollar? And that's a great conversation to have because you're more of an expert on the tech side from me. I'm like, okay, I trust you. He's giving me, hell, I just trust you. Like, all right, there you go. That's the camera you want.
And really, those are the partners, regardless of us or OHD, but all of your crew that you should be having. You should be having people that have your back the whole time. We are running a little low on time. We got about 2 minutes left. Just wanted to check with the crowd here if there's anybody that has any questions. Yeah, shoot. Yeah, so how does a client build a budget?
Well, you know, on the feature side, a lot when people get me to do a budget, they're like, "Well, how much should the budget be?" And it's like less than the movie's worth. You know, I don't know what that's the answer I can give you. But I can build it to the parameters, and you can see if you're going to need this level of talent to be in it. You're going to need this level to do it. On the commercial side, I think it's a similar kind of thing, which is like, well, you know, what's your marketing budget and what are you trying to achieve with this? I mean, if you're trying to achieve a web-based campaign for your existing customers, that's one thing. If you're trying to break into an entire market statewide, that would be another thing. And that's just like asking the creative definitions. It's like, what is this meant to be? Is another really good thing you have to be cognizant of as you do it. Like, I don't put movies together, I don't package, I don't do development, but I do know where it is going, and I do know you sort of get a gut for like this movie. Like when I'm doing budgets, it's like this movie's never going to get made because it's going to cost so much money, and there's not a part for a star.
Yeah, and one of the things I'll say too, if just simplistically, a direct client, like a direct brand that you're doing work for, let's say for Nationwide here in town, they are building their budget from their marketing budget. Yeah. They've been given a number that they can spend for the quarter or the year, and they are trying as best they can to divide that up amongst everything that they need to do, not just your videos. An agency is budgeting a project based on what they have left over after they take out all their fees. Seriously. Yeah. So if I don't know who else in the audience, but as a biz dev person, as a producer, please educate yourself. Don't just sell, don't just produce. Educate yourself on what's going on out there in the community. Educate yourself on your partners, the people that you're working with. What's the creative director's responsibility? What's the head of production's responsibility? What are the producer's responsibility? So that as you're putting together a budget, you know that you're supporting, number one, your studio or your team, but you're also using those dollars in the best way possible to achieve the story that they want to tell. Because 9 times out of 10, they don't know for sure how much it's going to cost. So again, that transparency and ethics and everything that goes along with building a budget like that or executing a project is so important. And you have to be educated to do that.
Well, I just want to thank all of you panelists so much for being a part of us. Thank you guys for being out here in the crowd. Stay tuned. We have so much more coming up. We're going to take a brief little break, and we'll see you back here in a little bit. Thanks so much.
Just let your tears fall down. No need to worry about tomorrow, baby. Cause you got time to figure it out.